Hi everyone. It's been a while since I done a longer video because of busy schedule. I have to settle with shorts. Anyway, I'm happy that a lot of you are enjoying my cat videos. You already know who Ate Kulit is and Tiga, and some of my adventures and food tasting here in Indonesia. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm actually marking papers now. You know, I'm a teacher. I am marking papers, and I just would like to, while I am checking papers, probably I could share to you one lesson. Probably magpapaka-teacher mode muna tayo. Um, um, like some reminders that you need to remember when you do a writing task. So let's start. Okay, Ayo, let's go. So, I don't even plan to edit this. I mean, subject it to video editing. So let's just go with it. But yeah. So as I talk, I do my markings as well. Okay. So let's talk about letter writing. Very few people now write letters just because the medium has changed, meaning you don't, very seldom, although there's still some, very seldom that you write letters the traditional way, pen and paper, or probably computerized but still printed out the physical one, and then you sign it, and then you send it in a post office. um, Gone are the days. Probably bank transactions or something, legal documents or legal transactions. These are the only instances that we get into the traditional letter writing, because the medium has changed now. The way we communicate, and in fact it has been considered legal, I mean a legal document, and nag-email na sila, no? So email. So but as I mentioned, and as I um, told my students, how we bombard our students to think outside of the box. But the question is, before you ask them to think outside of the box, they have to know what's inside, right? Yun ang lagi ko sinasabi sa kanila. Before you think outside of the box, you should know what's inside it. So what the best example for this is that you should know the basics first before you explore on other possibilities or other options. So let's go back to basics of letter writing. By the way, letter writing is also a component in an IELTS exam. I'm not quite sure though whether it is in the general exams or the general training exams, or in the academic exams of IELTS. But nevertheless, if and when you see it, with the discussion that I'll be doing now, at least you will be reminded. Or probably you're working, and then nakalimutan mo na how do I do this, no? Okay. For of course I will do the basics, but if you are a long time employee or a long time letter writer, you know that you can deviate. Again, siguro kasabihan number two is, when do you break the rules? When you know them, right? So let's go. So the first part that you will have to put, and always very important though, is letters are dated just because they can be used for legal purposes. They have to be dated, meaning dapat may date siya. And technically we call that a date line. Okay? So the date line is the first entry, and then in a very formal business letter, you don't abbreviate, or you don't shorten the months. So if it's January, you do not write Jan or Feb. You have to spell it out. Now it depends on where you want to put the date. Is it on the first or in the middle, or should it be in the ordinal or in the regular number? Say for example, today is the 23rd, which is an ordinal, by the way. 23rd March 2023. Or you can just say 23 March 2023. Also, you can also do March 23, 2023 or March 23rd, 2023. You don't need to put the 23rd of March because that is already excess. Meaning it's not wrong but it's not necessary, right? Uh, Huwag ka nang magpagod na magpindot pa o kaya yung space sayang lang. Minsan yung ink sayang lang. Okay? Then after that, on a more traditional, when like 10 years ago when I was teaching letter writing, meron pa tayong tinatawag na inside address. No? Although ngayon hindi na masyado yung inside address. Pero yung inside address is actually the name of the recipient and the address. The recipient, meron pang kasunod yun na position kung meron, and then the office address or residential. That's what they call the inside address. Now, after that is the salutation. So, on a more modern letter, tama ba sabihin ko, modern traditional letter, minsan tinatanggal na nila yung inside address. Siguro kasi hindi na rin uso yung window envelope. Masyado na yatang matanda for me to actually talk about window envelope kasi hindi naman tayo masyado nakakakita na madalas nakikita natin mga window envelope sa mga ano na lang, sa mga credit card envelopes, sa mga bank statements, no, but insurance, but not all the time. Anyway, so I won't deal with that because I just want to go to the basics. So number 1 is the date line, followed by the salutation. The salutation is where you put the dear something, no? So, in a business letter, after the word dear, then because it's business, then you have to address them with the titles. So, by default, it's either Mr. and Miss, right? Or if you know them, doctors, engineers, attorney, why not, right? But by default, if you are in doubt, you go back to the basic, Mr. or Miss. Sometimes pati yung Mrs. Is not advisable. You know why? Because you don't know whether the person you're addressing is actually a Mrs. or a married person, or modern times, right? You don't know whether the person is inside the marriage, right? So para safe lang, you do the Mr. or Miss, and then followed by typically the last name. So, dito sa context ng mga estudyante ko, because in Indonesia, they usually do not use last name as a way to address people. So, unlike, for example, in the United States, you call them Mr. Smith. In my case, they don't call me Mr. Fred sa Pilipinas. Here, because of culture and tradition, they use the first name, which is still okay. So, pwede ring Dear Mr. Fred, or Dear Miss Angelina, for example, for Angelina Jolie. No? Kasi ginagamit ko yung example ng mga artista kapag gumagawa ko ng mga exercises. Para lang medyo familiar sila. So, last name, and then after the last name, there is a punctuation that is needed, a comma. No? So, meron kang Dear Mr. Flores, comma. Or kung gusto mo yung first name lang, if you want the first name, Dear Mr. Fred or Frederick. So, yun. Do not forget the title, because with the title, it gives us the sense of formality. No? You don't address people if it's business letter. Ngayon, if it's a social letter, by all means, and usually social letters, your friends or your family, so kaya lang, no? So, kaya mo sabihin, Dear John, di ba, alam natin yan, Dear John, why not? Pero if it's business, you have to have Dear Mr. John or Dear Dr. John or whatever. Okay, and then followed by the body of the letter. Now, dito medyo nagkakatalo kasi, what do you write? And how do you write it? Remember, letters are short documents. And the recipient, especially if it's a business letter, the recipient is a busy person. An admissions officer, the dean, the principal, the teacher, a human resource person, the interviewer, these are busy people, so they don't have the time to actually read long letters, especially application letters or cover letters. So I devised a formula. Actually, not really I devised, but based on the readings that I did, I was able to come up with a pattern of a three-part pattern